Bigfoot Collectors Club with Bryce and Michael. I know a ghost story or two. Let's do this.
Hey! There's a horse in the opening now.
Yeah, what is this, Mr. Ed?
I was trying to be Santa Claus, but then it turned out to be a horse.
Yeah, commit, Michael, commit.
I'm gonna try. Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Bigfoot Collectors Club. I'm your host, Michael McMillan, and with me always is your other host.
I'm Bryce Johnson.
Hey, Bryce.
How's it going, man?
Hey, man. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year. Happy Hanukkah.
Holiday.
We're right in the middle of the holidays right now.
I'm very festive.
I'm so excited. I just had the best weekend with my best friend who's in town, who you all will meet in just a moment.
Yes.
We saw Star Wars.
Yeah, me too.
Twice, and no spoilers here, but
so satiated.
God, I loved it so.
I'm still high on it.
Much.
Yeah, it was amazing. So rich in symbolism, so wonderfully executed.
God, so good, so good.
Go
and
see it in
cool
a theater.
Creatures, some cool creatures for you cryptozoology fans.
Totally.
Okay, so right up top, I'm so excited. It's the end of the year. Thank you so much for listening to all of our listeners who've been following us since our debut on Halloween. Mm-hmm. This week is awesome because we have today's episode, and then on Friday we're going to release our first bonus episode, which is our listener files episode.
We've
got some really great stories from our listeners. You guys have been writing in. We're so happy, and keep doing that, please. So it's a little Christmas bonus for you guys this week. You're probably home for the holidays.
Yeah.
I know when I'm home for the holidays, I like to sneak off and listen to a few podcasts. And traveling around, you might be in the car, so we wanted to give you a little extra gift at the end of the year as a thank you for listening to the show. And then
seriously,
next month, all through January,
we're gonna drop 10,000 new episodes.
10,000 new episodes. No, we've got a bunch of the cast from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, the show that I work on from the CW. It comes back from its mid-season break on, I believe, January 5th.
This is so cool. Michael put together a great little run of guests, which I think you guys will love. And it coincides perfectly with, like, the timing of a Crazy Ex-Girlfriend coming back, right?
See how I did that?
Gosh.
So we've already recorded a few of those episodes, so we know we've got some really, really good stuff coming up. In particular, Donalyn Champlin's going to be a guest halfway through the month, and she's got some amazing
bombs here over on the BCC
stuff. So, literally, she brought in some really, really cool stuff for all of you guys. So keep listening and spread the word.
Can I say it? She brought in some EVP files of her own. I just said
little tease. Let's do it.
Wow.
Anyway, without further ado, I would like to welcome this week's guest to the clubhouse. He is a very good friend of mine from my hometown of Kansas City. He's also a podcaster. He has a show called Taco the Town, where he talks a lot about tacos. He's a filmmaker and an artist out of Kansas City. Please put together your hands for my friend and yours, W. Dave Keith.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, Dave.
Up? Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Hey, welcome.
It's great to be here in the clubhouse.
Man. I know.
So, Dave, I know a lot about your personal paranormal history because I've shared some of it. Yep. But for the listeners at home who don't know you, what's your personal paranormal history?
I have a lot of paranormal history. It goes back to elementary school. First off, I've always been fascinated by, the weird. And I think I found, at Morris Elementary, where we went to elementary school in Kansas, they had a great paranormal section for young kids.
That's amazing.
And these books were detailed. They had pictures of Sasquatch, ghost pictures, UFO encounters, and they were the most amazing, colorful books, and it just captured me from an early
Dave and I
age.
have known each other since the second grade.
I love that. That's where it started for me too, right in that library. I remember renting out ghost books. That's where it started for me. And
there was a writer, I think his name was Daniel Cohen, or Cohn. He had a bunch of ghost and cryptozoology books. And Dave and I used to sit in the library and look through all these books of free. It's like all that mystic, the Time Life books that we've talked about here before.
It's important literature.
but just like those creepy illustrations. That was like when I was first exposed to a lot of this stuff too.
Yeah, and when you're a kid, that wild imagination is going bang, 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 bang.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Dave, do you want to tell him about the purple guy?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Me and Michael perpetrated a paranormal hoax in the 5th grade.
Oh no.
Well, first of all, I thought it was real.
Oh right.
I think Dave knew that it was fake, but I did not.
Well, it was your birthday party, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in 4th grade. We camped out in the woods next to my house, and in the morning,
About
a bunch of
6 kids.
Yeah, and in the morning, a couple of us like moved into the house because it was cold. It was October, and then we decided we were gonna go wake up the other like scare the other guys that slept in the tent, and it smelled like I remember that place smelled like Cheetos and Teddy Grahams.
Oh no.
It was like and farts.
I
It
love
was
it.
just like dumb kids, dumb boys, but.
We saw a UFO that night.
Oh, well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Really?
I legitimately saw a UFO that night. We had neighbors that lived 2 doors down from us that would always throw wild pool parties.
Mm-hmm.
And it was October, so it must have been pretty warm if we were camping out and they were throwing pool parties. Maybe it wasn't a pool party. They were just throwing out a backyard party. So we were, this is the age when you would dress up as ninjas and hide in ditches from cars as they drove by.
Have
Oh, yeah.
adventures in the woods.
Oh, yeah. No,
So
same
we were
childhood.
spying
Yep.
on our neighbors throwing a party, and I looked up and saw a flash of white light shoot across the sky and land on the other, went over the tree line near the woods. And I was like, guys, I saw a UFO. And then the next morning we were...
Did you say you saw it land?
No, well, I saw it shoot over and then disappear over the skyline. So if you're... everyone at home, look up, and then you see the bright light go from your right eye over to your left eye and then disappear over the tree line.
It was like I remember seeing like a pulse of white light
Right.
land, almost like it was a meteor
Yeah.
landing somewhere, but
That's wild.
And that was the first time as a kid I had seen anything like that. Mm-hmm. And the next morning, I'd kind of forgotten. I mean, we were excited about it, but then we went home and played Metal Gear on the old school 8-bit Nintendo that I got. And my mom got us Nintendo cereal for breakfast, which I thought was
which added to the smells in the tent.
yeah, which really didn't
You
help.
rock, Mom. Yeah.
So the next morning we got up to scare the other kids, and one of the boys said that he saw a man running in the woods. And we were like, what? And then over breakfast, over that Nintendo cereal, we were like, what if it's an alien?
Totally.
And so we ran with it and created this whole mythos about this guy being a purple alien.
Oh my God.
And I saw him I told the kids that I saw him up on a tree branch throwing hedge apples at people, at us. And Michael said, oh, I chased him, or he chased me. And all these kids, we split up, and half the kids were with Michael and half were with me. And we
David said that he saw it sticking its head out of a bush, and I believed him.
Oh my
And then
gosh.
he wouldn't tell me the truth. And then everyone got to go home, but I had to sleep in a bedroom next to those woods, and I believed that the purple guy was real.
You're feeding apples to the skeptics out there who, how many times do people see strange lights in the sky?
Well,
and then
that
the
I
next,
definitely saw.
Well, and then the next day they're like, they're going with it. They're running with these crazy
They add to
monster
the story,
stories. Yeah.
yeah.
So we have to sift through those ones, and but that's really funny.
And then at school the next week, all the kids started talking about, oh, I heard you guys saw an alien this weekend. So we just kept adding to the story.
Yeah.
We came up with the idea that the alien had taken over one of the girls in our class's minds.
Yeah, and then
It
we
was
decided
mind
that it was
control and-
infiltrating our school, and that it
Right.
hated the color red.
Oh my God.
And one time we were watching these helicopters fly around, and we thought that they were battling the UFO in the sky.
God. This is all so amazing because as we've been doing this podcast, I've gone down this brand new rabbit hole now of connecting all these interesting things, and hearing these stories is like one of my favorite ufologists is Jacques Vallée. He's been quoted as saying, hey, the real stories are with the people out there telling them and what they see, and I think he's onto something. It's so amazing how these stories influence society and what we see. But which brings me to something amazing is for those skeptics is how about a New York Times article that releases video footage of 2 F-18 Hornet jets chasing a UFO that is changing shape and outmaneuvering them at every step. How about that?
Yeah, the Pentagon admitted that they had a black books operation.
Bombshell was dropped in New York Times. And I mean, do you hear a ripple out in society? I mean, not really. No. So, yeah, it's amazing stuff. I sifted through the article, and it connects a lot of interesting players. Like, I mean, I know we haven't talked a lot about, we can't talk about some of the podcasts in the past, but there's some players you'll recognize, like Bob Bigelow and where the money went. But this is, actual recognition in a credible rag that says, hey, we're recognizing Black Ops money, funded money. And for
those of you who may not know,
yes.
We're recording this a few days ahead, but over the weekend, the New York Times released an article that basically unveiled that the Pentagon had a UFO defense and research operation basically for a number of years.
Yeah, they call it the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, and the director of it was a guy named Louis Elizondo, who said, yeah, it's still running. So they're still getting case files, and they're still exploring them. And then they go ahead and release some tantalizing video, like I said, that, I mean, dig your knives into that one, people, because that is spectacular stuff.
Yeah.
What was the video we watched this weekend with the...
Bryce is going to talk about that during the High Strange
I had
segment.
never seen that before, and during my research, I saw that, and it is shot by the same guy I'm going to be talking about in today's story. And I went, what the fuck?
Yeah, that was creepy.
Yeah, a very strange UFO taken out of Turkey, of a revisiting UFO craft, 10 years in the running. So every year they've captured this same craft. And this guy captured it on a 200 millimeter double lens photo camera. And when you look up, what is that, a porthole? Wait, are those pilots? Are those alien grays? Yeah, pretty much. That's exactly what you see.
Jeez.
And they're moving.
Yeah, and they're moving. And so this is taken in a 5-year period where you see it 1 year, and I believe it's like 98. Then you see it again in 2003. And I looked at the times. They're all around like 3 a.m., 5 a.m., same craft. And it was filmed in Chile at the same time. I mean, not at the same time, but same different photographer, same period of time, same flap. And this guy captures a port view hole too, and you zoom in on his camera, and you're going, "Oh my God, it's the same pilots." Their parents must be pissed, All
right. Well, before we get to that, Dave, you're from Kansas,
yes,
and you and I both know. I've mentioned the Joplin spook lights on this show. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the paranormal activity around Kansas?
We have some weird stuff. Me and you try to take a paranormal road trip every year. We went to Roswell, and we had a private tour of all the sites in Roswell.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we talked about this on the episode 0.
Yeah, that's right. I remember.
And we went to Willow Creek, and we went to
Area 51,
which was amazing.
You guys are like on the ground, like investigators. I love it.
We've been to Sedona. We've been a bunch of places.
That's more than I could say.
I went to Loch Ness back in 2009 and went out actually on the loch on a boat.
You're kidding?
No, it was great. It was a great experience.
How did you feel? Did you see or feel or hear or anything?
Being out there on the water, this is
the Loch Ness Monster for our listeners, Nessie, who's just as fabled as Bigfoot here in North America. But
I mean, that area is it's eerie. The captain of the ship, of the boat, the little schooner we were on, he sounded just like Sean Connery. I mean, he had an amazing accent.
Oh, that makes the experience so much better.
And he'd been doing trips out there for a long time, over 20 years. And
it's like, Dave, sit back in your boat right there.
He was like, I've been doing this for 20 years.
Oh, no.
I've only seen it once. And I was like, oh, man, you come out here every day, probably 5 times a day, and you've only seen it one time in 20 plus years.
Those are bad numbers.
Came up from the loch.
Right. But I've been...
And I kissed it right on the lips.
Giving tours for 20 years now. That's a terrible show.
I know, I sounded more like an Irishman.
Butchered it. Go ahead.
And he had a photo of it. He said, if you look on the back door... It's the picture of the time I saw Nessie. And he had a black and white picture. It was like really bad.
It's like him high-fiving Nessie off the boat.
It's not that famous one of Nessie, right? Because there's like a pretty famous one.
You see, sometimes like every 6 months you'll see, with all the new cameras on your phones now, people have been capturing footage more and more.
Yeah.
It seems like it's always just the humps and never the head.
You know, they say we've explored more surface area of the moon than we have the depths of our ocean floors, you know? So for the skeptics out there, they didn't believe the giant squid was roaming our ocean depths about 15 years ago, but yet there they are.
Less than that. I think the first photograph came out like 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, but they're on our lab tables now, so...
And before that, it was just a kraken. It was the fabled kraken.
Right.
So did you, what was the result of that trip? On the lock.
I mean, it was a beautiful vacation, but I did not encounter Nessie. I was bummed. I took tons of pictures, didn't see any humps or tails or legs or heads.
You know what's so important, though, is like, and some of the Bigfooters I've talked to, and oh my God, that's so crazy saying that, but the most important thing that happens is that as you're out in nature and you're getting out there and you're, you know, exploring mystery, which is what we need to do more. I think more of us need to be taking those trips. And even if you're like, you know, it's like you say to grandma, "What are you doing out there in the woods?" Hey, I'm out in the woods. You know, I might be looking for a hairy creature, but I'm out in the woods. You know.
Well, Kansas-wise, Kansas has supposedly the most haunted town in America, Atchison, Kansas, and it's a very eerie town. You go up there and everyone has haunting stories. The Sally House is up there, which is always on those ghost adventure shows.
Yeah, I've been there. My sister and I went there.
It's supposed to be one of the most haunted houses in America.
Old turn of the century house.
The ghost there is a little girl named Sally that scratches people's arms.
Weird.
Yeah, people don't even live there anymore.
Let me ask you, do you think it's all related, like the ghosts and the UFOs and the Bigfoot? I mean, where do you stand on that kind of stuff? Like, I mean, I know you know, are interested in a lot of these cases.
I mean, I think they're all different. I mean, Bigfoot, I have a book that I've been reading called The Life and Times of a Legend, Bigfoot, and it kind of demystifies all the Bigfoot stories and Yeti stories. I made a movie called Cry of the Sasquatch.
Oh, no way.
An independent film.
Where can we find that?
It is on VHS in my parents' basement.
We're going to get that to our listeners.
In that movie, I made Bigfoot a interdimensional alien.
Oh, I love that.
That was left here by his parents.
Yeah.
Kind of like a Superman story. They came back to get him.
Oh, that's great.
So that's what Bigfoot is in my story.
Has your views changed?
I don't. Yeah, that book actually.
You've turned on. Show them the book. You've mentioned this to me before too, and you kind of started to turn on the Bigfoot myth a lot.
I used to be a real big believer. I do believe that there was some sort of wild man up there, probably 100+ years ago, but I'm not sure if there is anymore.
Sure. You and a lot of other people. Yeah.
But this book, you should definitely.
What's it called?
It's called Life and Times of a Legend, Bigfoot.
And who's the author?
Joshua Blue, B-U-H-S, Blue Boos, Blue
Great.
Bus. But he approaches it from a pop culture standpoint.
It's like a library book, too. It's got the library code in the book. Dude, this is old school. This
Dave
is great.
still goes to the library. I mean,
dude, that is
as
so
everybody
awesome.
should.
As everybody should, right? I mean, gosh, I don't want to talk about it.
So this one is more of a pop culture approach. It's like talking about it as a pop culture phenomenon.
It's amazing.
And it
I gotta
tackles the
read it.
Yeti, too.
Yeah.
Which I know you're a big Yeti fan.
I'm a
as well.
big fan of all of it. I like every little thing that's strange or weird or...
And Dave, so this book basically says that like this was all a phenomenon that they capitalized on to build an industry around tourism. And
it was the 50s, and the abominable snowman came out, and everyone just kind of it became a pop culture phenomenon. And there were expeditions to the Himalayas, and it just became this mysterious. Just fun thing to report on for newspapers, and they never came back with any good evidence. They had some, some of the tracks, but they actually it's just a big miscommunication.
No, I mean, and listen, what Dave's talking about is like the Eric Shipton photo. I believe that is his name, but it looks like a Yeti footprint, and from there. hysteria happened,
Yeah.
and it translated right into Northern California, into Willow Creek, because there were some people fooling around with fake tracks.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Which really, and if you look at every great case, there's always just that little perfect amount of disinformation or distruth to splash in there to really seal it as never solvable. But I lost my point, as I often do.
It's becoming a standard part of our podcast.
Yeah.
Is that Bryce trailing off and then forgetting
what
where
happens?
His,
I never
it's like
get to
Dad
talk about
sitting in his chair.
It's true.
Gathering the kids around and then just flaking out on what he was going to say.
I never get to talk about this stuff, so I think it bubbles up, and then as it spews out.
But it's funny because then I'll listen back as we're editing the episodes, we're putting it together, and I'll be like, "Oh, I know where he was going with that." But at
You
the time,
do. You catch me every time. No.
sometimes. So,
Yes.
so Dave, big paranormal fan, and then also, real quick, two things I want to mention from Kansas. There's Stoll, Kansas. You want to talk about Stoll, Kansas?
Yeah, Stoll, Kansas. Have you heard of Stoll before?
I have not. No.
It's considered to be, well, the legend is that it's one of the 7 gateways to hell.
Oh my gosh, great.
It's it's a tiny town. It's about 7 miles outside of Lawrence, Kansas. And it's probably, I'd say only about 10 people live there. It's
really little. It's like a little church.
There's
in
a
graveyard
church
and
and
like
a garage.
I
and
know
then there's
small. That's
3 or 4
small.
houses.
And did it used to be called Skull, or is that?
That's just a legend.
Okay.
Most of the legends started in the early 70s, and I think it was more of a fraternity prank type thing, but it's kind of grown since then, and the legend has grown. There was an old church on top of the hill in the cemetery, right on the main highway through town, and the roof was off the church. It was really creepy looking at night, and it just kind of grew from there. You go up to the top of the hill, and the legend is that if you went into the church and threw a glass bottle onto the wall, the glass bottle wouldn't break. And on certain nights, twice a year, the devil would appear in the cemetery at Stoll, Kansas. One was Halloween, and the other was the spring equinox.
Right.
And so the legend started. Everyone started going there on Halloween and trying to break the bottle or watch the bottles bounce off the wall and then watch the gateway to hell
Testing
open up.
the spirits.
And then also the legend is that if it rains, the rain does not fall within the church.
Wow.
And the church has no roof on it.
Yeah.
And this is an old, creepy stone church with no roof and just graffiti everywhere and a lot of broken bottles. So I guess the legend isn't true that the bottles.
Right.
And then there's Gravity Hill.
Oh, yeah, Gravity Hill.
Which you took me to once. Tell them about Gravity Hill.
Gravity Hill is this weird, it might be an optical illusion, but the legend is that a bus full of school children died.
This is like this country road out.
This is way out in the country.
Oh, no.
Died in some accident,
Right.
even though there's no train tracks, but I guess they were hit by a train.
Right.
Near where Gravity Hill is. But you take your car down this hill and you park your car at the bottom of the hill and
Put it in neutral.
Put it in neutral, and your car will start being pulled back up the hill.
Oh, gosh.
Backwards. And it's more fun to do backwards because I guess the legend is you just have to park it backwards. So you get pulled backwards up the hill and you pick up speed going up the hill. You get going
really
so
weird.
fast that you have to hit the brakes.
Right.
And the legend is if you put baby powder on your bumper, you'll get out and you'll see the little children's hands are pushing you
Oh,
out
my
of the
God.
way.
car, yeah.
You said you did that, or have you
Oh,
tried
yeah,
that?
it works all
We
the
didn't do
time.
the baby powder,
We
but
didn't do the baby powder thing.
he took me. I mean, you pick up speed, you go backwards.
You're not
I mean,
kidding.
it's not a super steep hill. It's not like it's not a hill you would like sled down.
Yeah.
But it's an upward grade, and you go
Why did
backwards.
you leave
of
out the baby powder?
I don't know.
It's always like a last minute thing you do in the summertime. Like, hey, man, let's go down to Gravity Hill.
Oh, that's great.
You got any baby powder?
Nah.
Nope.
Look,
Okay,
let's
let's do
go.
it.
And we also learned about a new cryptid this summer, the Ridge Runner. Tell them about the Ridge Runner.
It's a weird area. It's out where Gravity Hill is. I guess there's this. It's a Bigfoot type creature.
I thought it was a cat.
Oh,
man.
it's a cross between like a cat and Bigfoot.
What?
And they call it the Ridge Runner.
The Ridge Runner.
And
It's got a good name.
And what does he do?
He runs on ridges.
But doesn't he claw people's cars
People
up?
said he claws up cars. Yeah, kind of
Yeah.
like the Lizard Man in
Right.
Bishopville, South Carolina. He just attacks cars and
Strange.
yeah.
And he claws these cars, and so I bet people are taking photographs and stuff. I mean,
I just found out about this summer, and I've lived in the area my whole life. So, but then the guy was like, "Oh yeah, it's right out by Gravity Hill. The Ridge Runner's out there." It's like, man.
And hey, listen, for our listeners, as I'm sure you haven't heard or you have heard, but there is a lot of strangeness around these incidences and stories, and even the historical ones. And and it shies a lot of people away of thinking outside the box. But I think people need to bring more of these tales into the field, into their scope.
And the thing that I love about it is wherever you live, there are stories like this. Yeah. So, like, Dave is awesome. I mean, I think Dave's just got a really appreciation for the area that we grew up in.
Yeah.
But if you get out there, you'll find all of these weird little local legends and stories, and
sure,
every town has them. So if you're at home and you're listening to this, you're bored, get out and go explore and go see the little place. That's why I always love hanging out with Davis. He always kind of gets me out of the usual rut of when I go to visit home, and we'll go do something different.
Sure.
Go see some cool areas.
There's a history here, that's longer than us,
So Dave, Bigfoot, you're more of a skeptic than a believer now.
Yeah.
UFOs.
I mean, when we went up to Willow Creek, I was really hoping to have a sighting, and we didn't see anything, so I was kind of bummed. But UFOs, I'm a believer.
Yeah.
I'm a believer in every... I'm a believer in most all...
Ghosts.
Paranormal and conspiracy theories. So.
Right.
Ghosts?
Ghosts, yes.
Cool. Awesome, man. Well, we will be back in just a moment, and when we come back, it'll be time for High Strangeness.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait for this one. Hey, what's up, guys? This is Bryce Johnson from Bigfoot Collectors Club. Listen, if you have a paranormal story, we want to hear it. Write to BigfootCollectorsClub@gmail.com with your paranormal encounter, and we just might read it on a future episode. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Everybody is so fucking silent. We just watched a video, and towards the end of my segment, I'll tell you what to watch, what to look for. But everybody's pretty blown away here, and you should be. You should be. This shit is real, and I can't wait to tell you my story of high strangeness for the week.
Great, hit us. Not
this
hard.
Is the story.
Hit us soft.
Of Roger Leir. Dr. Roger Leir.
Our minds.
And he's out of Thousand Oaks, California. He is a foot doctor. He's one of the very... I knew a foot doctor,
not the best way to start a story.
You know what, though?
For credibility. Well, I mean, look, foot doctors work hard.
Let me tell you something.
We are a Bigfoot podcast, technically.
This one goes out to my buddy. So we have
respect
Dr.
for
Bill.
podiatry.
R.I.P. God rest his soul. He was a foot doctor. But let me tell you something. He was an amazing man. Anyway, Roger Leir was one of the very few individuals to perform...
He's the foot doctor.
Yes.
Dr. Leir.
Yes.
Okay.
Roger Leir was one of the
Bryce
very few individuals to perform surgical operations on supposed alien abductees in which he believed the results constituted scientific proof of non-terrestrial experimentation on man. So you want photos, you get them. You want videos, we give them to you. Now, what about little implants from people say, hey man, I was taken up in a beam and they put something in my toe. Can you get it out? And this guy's going, what are you, fucking crazy? But then they show him x-rays. Let me break into the story. So this is Dr. Roger Leir, and for 20 years he's been practicing the art of podiatry, which is a surgical foot practice, and that's intense work. Anyway, he was also a big fan of the paranormal and phenomenon. So one year he goes to his local MUFON chapter, and a lady brings him. She finds out he's a foot doctor, and she says, I've been abducted. I have x-rays. Would you look at them? He's okay. And in these x-rays are a little piece, and he's like, well, yeah, there's
metal,
a little something, an
object.
And he says, well, I can get that out. So let me fast forward. He schedules in 1995, he schedules 2 surgeries. And he takes these objects out of these 2 people, both metallic in nature, and he submits them to laboratory testing all over the United States, starting at New Mexico's Institute of Mining and Technology. Kind of produced tentative results, but something did pop out in those results, and that was one of the compositions showed meteors in the laboratory, right? And so...
Wait, what?
Yeah, showed the trace signs of meteoric elements. Not just metal, but meteoric
Like
metal.
ore. Okay.
Metal that doesn't come from our galaxy.
Okay.
Okay? Basically,
See, because when I hear implants, it
yeah.
always makes me think of X-Files when Scully had an implant, and it was more like a little metal chip.
no, this thing looks like a little grain of rice. There's 2 types. So he did 17 surgeries.
They're
I see
always
you have
really
questions.
Small. They're always small.
Yeah, it's like the grain of rice.
pictures,
He found 2 types. One was like metallic and like the size of the grain of rice. One was like a ball, like a watermelon seed ball. And these all like, what happens is your skin formulates around these things, forms a protective pod, which, stops it from inflammation and pain and stuff like that. But
Wasn't one in an ear?
yeah, one was in an
Yeah.
ear. That's right. They find them in ears and nose and toes and thighs, and mostly on the left side for the metallic one, which refuted mine because I have cyst on my right leg. I was like, oh fuck, and but it's on the right side. I'm still a little weird about that one. Anyway, so. The composition of meteors in the final laboratory report convinced Dr. Leir they had to be extraterrestrial in origin, right? Leir remained adamant that the implants could not have entered the body by conventional means since there was no visible scar formation and no interruption of the integrity of the skin. Now, Leir testified at the United Nations General Assembly in its campaign to back a world conference assessing the evidence for non-terrestrial influences upon the human race. We should do a whole podcast on that one. But anyway, so he does 17 surgeries. He removes objects from the alleged alien abductees. Only one was an actual just glass shard. The rest were fucking crazy, man. And he sends these all over to labs, talking about Los Alamos, New Mexico Tech, University of Toronto, New York, Southwest Laboratories, SEAL Laboratories here in California. Basically, the discoveries, have been pretty earth-shattering. And his case is that they prove beyond the shadow of a doubt that these objects are of non-terrestrial origin and have been placed in humans all over the world by advanced species for reasons that we still do not understand.
So these discoveries are like unidentifiable elements?
Yes.
Or?
Well, so let's talk about the science behind it, right? So I just watched a document that was released on iTunes about Dr. Leir called Patient 17. Now, Dr. Robert Leir is no longer with us. He passed away a few years ago. Right after the making of the film, he was not able to see the results of Patient 17's analysis. But let me tell you something.
Patient 17 like Animal 57, the rumored genetic creation where Kentucky Fried Chicken got their chicken from?
Patient 17 is a normal dude from Texas at about 6'5" who's a Christian who says, I don't want this. I want this fucking out of me. I just want to get back to my life. I believe I've had alien abductions when I was a kid. And he goes down a hole that he does not enjoy.
Did you bring up Christian because he thought that these were demonic entities, or it breaks his frame of reference?
His philosophy was if they find this to be of non-terrestrial, or if they find weird metals, weird iron isotopes, then that kind of breaks my paradigm of what I've been taught as a kid, what I believe, So he's just, what I want to preface is, this guy, a normal guy. This is a rancher, a guy, a big man who's just like, his word is his bond. These are the people,
Was he abducted?
Yes. Oh, yes. The stories go into it. And listen, MUFON ran a case after this where one of their lead investigators, after he had passed away, they did follow-ups after some of the surgery items were removed. And her name is, anyway, but she does investigations. She finds they all have something in common, UFO abduction stories. And they find that through, hypnosis regression, but also...
You find her name. Take your time. It's your story. Flip through your notes, Bryce. Get her name.
My God, I got like a 12. I tell my family, I feel like I'm like doing like kid reports. Like every week, I've got stuff to do. It's ridiculous.
We can't give Daddy mashed potatoes anymore because he builds towers.
I know. Oh my God, you're not kidding. E. Frances Lorgan, an author and researcher and consultant at Anomalous Trauma. She interviewed 5 persons on the subjected surgeries, and she found that all persons, 1 male, 4 females, shared one thing in common: UFO encounters and contact with non-human alien beings, and that's in a MUFON journal out of November 98. So this is crazy shit, man. Oh, and we were talking about this earlier, because it led me down this hole bit too. Hillary Evans, I'm going to look more into him. Paranormal investigator Hillary Evans concluded that the key to explaining mysterious events lay with the person undergoing those events rather than with some outside force. that
So
brings
listen to your local abductee.
Yeah, so listen to these stories that like Dave is telling and stuff, and then watch those videos that the Department of Defense releases where 2 F-18 Hornets are chasing a UFO while it's shape-shifting and outmaneuvering them. Listen and watch both.
So, Dr. Leir,
Yes.
So he took all this stuff out of people's feet, and he's like, something's going on here. So he becomes a big advocate for extraterrestrial visitation.
And he's a prominent ufologist as well.
He used to be on Coast to Coast a lot.
Yeah, well, he became quite prominent in the field. I mean, of course, all the scientists, they all wrote it off as kind of junk science, like
So-
the lab test results were skewed or thwarted or hoaxed or whatever.
This sounds a lot like the film King of Kong, Fistful of Quarters, when Billy Mitchell's Donkey Kong record was beaten by Steve Wiebe, and then all the nerds who were friends of Billy Mitchell and wanted to protect his record decided that Steve Wiebe's Donkey Kong machine, was actually buggy. And so they said the wins didn't really count, so because it was all the science was wrong in it. So this sounds like bull. I mean, I'm just saying, come on.
Yeah.
Let's take a closer look at these implants.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, they have it. Listen, the pictures are out there on the internet, and what they found. Let's focus on the documentary that's out on iTunes right now, and it was
Patient 17.
Patient 17 is by a filmmaker named Jeremy Kenyon Lockyer Corbell. No, right now, this is a great documentary. Now you can kind of see for yourself and judge for yourself what they reveal, and with some of the scientists they deal with, when they isolate the elements out of these implants, first of all, they all have so many metallurgical properties in common. Let's talk about that if you want to get into that.
I would love to get into it.
First of all, some of the things
That's why I started this clubhouse.
Yeah, well, they noticed a metallic phase where inorganic material becomes biological tissue. Sound like something out of nanotechnology? Listen, this guy was saying these are nanotubes, right? 20 years ago, that stuff don't exist. Today, nanotubes are one of our strongest components in space exploration. We're using them now.
Well, what did he think the purpose of these implants are? Are they tracking devices, or are they to
your guess was as good as his.
Because Scully, when they took it out of Scully, she got cancer.
Yeah, let me
Were they having health problems?
A week before, these things were about to be removed, there was a lot of activity in the patients and stuff like that. But no pain, and there's no real vivid memory of a waking memory, right? A lot of these people had to be regressed. But that being said, it was those cases brought to him that were the best, saying, I need you to look at this patient. I just got her testimony. It's out of this world. Literally, she says she has an implant. You should see it. He does it. Listen, 3 separate camera crews filmed his surgeries. Yeah. He was like, please, I've been doing this for 20 years. I'd love for you to document this as much as you can. NBC did one. This guy does his movie and stuff. But when they eliminate some of what the things of this can't be, and when they start to reveal some of the properties of these unearthly irons, and they do this with amazing testing, you start to go, what the fuck is this thing, man? And in context, it's not a wood shard, it's not a piece of glass, it's not when you put it into context of story, and you watch the Department of Defense video, these things are real, you start to go, what the fuck?
Right. So we just watched a video with Leir before when we were in the break.
Oh yeah, right.
And what is this video? What was
holy
that?
Shit, right? So I'm researching Dr. Leir, the foot doctor, and I knew he was a prominent ufologist. He did a great story out of Brazil. He wrote a book on it. It's basically Brazil's Roswell. But I find a YouTube video where I'm like, oh, that looks interesting. And it's like UFO video shot by Dr. Leir out of Turkey over the Sea of Marmara. It was the 3rd sighting that he was behind the camera of. This had taken place a year before and the year prior, right in the middle of the night around 3 to 5 a.m.
This was in 2009.
2008, 2009, 2007. Now, this is a triangular-shaped craft, like a saucer. And what these cameras find are portholes with fucking pilots, man. And you look in there, they zoom in, and it looks like, I know I'm going to sound crazy, but it looks like alien grays.
Dude, we all just watched it.
Yeah.
Riley's nodding his head. Dave's nodding his head. We all watched it. We're going to put that video on our Facebook page.
Well, listen, this is out of Turkey. They don't have the juvenile taboo that we do here in America about UFOs and stuff like that. So they sent it to their best investigators and stuff like that. They've all looked at it. They're all convinced this is otherworldly. There looks like pilots flying the craft. There's a guy that took video out of Chile 28 minutes later. He gets video too, where you can zoom in on the portholes. He's using a 200 millimeter camera with a double magnifier.
Wow.
So it's great.
That
talk
shit
about
looks
sharp
really weird.
images.
And you can see the aliens inside moving around.
Yeah,
And
I
it
mean-
doesn't.
You can see their nostrils.
Yeah.
So this is like, I know we sound crazy here, but these are, it's funny because so many people want evidence, but then you give it to them, and I haven't heard anybody talking about the New York Times article over the Christmas parties we've been going to, but.
Oh, they will. They're going to fucking talk about it. It's time. All right. Thanks, Bryce. That's
Yeah,
really cool. And
totally.
go check out that video. We'll have it up on our Facebook
Absolutely,
page.
and watch Patient 17. It's on iTunes now, just released.
Okay,
so,
great.
yeah.
When we come back, we're going to ask Dave, what the hell was
What
that?
was that, Dave? Please tell us.
What the hell was that? Hey, club members, it's Michael here reminding you to please subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. We have some amazing guests in December. We have Paul F. Tompkins, Kevin Kirkpatrick, Tim Batt, and Guy Montgomery, Jen Kirkman. And coming up in January, we are going to have a month-long Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, the show I work on, theme with the stars of the show. So please help our community grow by subscribing, rating, and spreading the word and sharing your favorite episodes. Thank you. Dave.
What the hell was that?
Well, I want first things first. When you guys have the segment, what the hell was that? Sometimes I wish you had a wacky Sasquatch voice saying, "What the hell was that?" or something like that.
Oh, here he is, trying to get on Pete Gardner's territory.
Yeah. So maybe work that in the future.
Sure, we'll see what we can
okay.
do.
Sorry, I'm using my
This is your podcast?
Oh yeah,
Experience?
This is a paranormal. I'd like to change this podcast into a paranormal taco podcast.
I had tacos last night. Is that weird?
Implants. Me and Michael were talking yesterday about how there was the big abduction phenomenon in the mid 80s to early 90s. And then that gave way to implants, the alien implants stories. And then next was kind of crop circles. It was kind of all at the same, kind of back to back to back. That was a big thing. And you don't really hear about implant or abductions anymore, alien abductions, as much as you did back then. So I was kind of wondering,
are they still happening?
What led to all of those abductions
great
and implants,
question.
and if people are still having those implant surgeries now that Roger Leir's not around anymore.
It's a great question, and I was on MUFON's website, and listen, their message boards are lighting up. They're like
Abductions?
they're like, I have something in me too.
Wow.
I have X-rays. Now that Dr. Leir's gone, he's kind of left a void, But listen. There was a study, a controversial study that, and I would be remiss not to mention this, but it says 3.7 million Americans have the indicator signs that they have felt that they believe in or might have been abducted by aliens. This is a controversial study. It was done kind of just like, I don't want to say half-assed, but jumping to the conclusions became pretty half-assed. But it's like, listen, there's a lot of people who, are like missing time, who have these experiences, and you can't discount them as outlandish or foolish or they're just crazy because, they're not.
It seems like it was reported a lot more back then.
I just feel like it's not as popular or as in vogue anymore. I think that this stuff is happening, but I think sometimes the culture picks up on, or the media picks up on, new and exciting stuff, and I feel like probably this is one of those things where like, oh, alien implants, all that stuff is played out.
Yeah.
It's now, I remember when I was a kid, the only place I ever saw a picture of an alien gray was on the cover of Communion at B. Dalton at Oak Park Mall.
Whitley Strieber's
and that
famed.
shit scared me senseless.
Yeah.
And then I feel like there was that, like, Sightings came out and X-Files and all that stuff through the 90s. And then we had big movies like Independence Day, which, picked up on the Roswell mythology.
Area 51.
Yeah, and Area 51. I think it's kind of played out. I mean, I feel like until, in terms of like the media wanting to, not necessarily film and TV, fictional, scripted stuff, but in terms of like the news covering this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there'll always be a place for it, but I just don't think it's as it's as in style.
Well,
right
he
now.
had
It's a
his, yeah, of course, and he had his skeptics. And you guys bring up great points. These things seem to go through like their own evolutions. They come, they go, It's strange, you know. I mean, but you get one report out there saying, no, there's nothing strange about the analysis of this, and that kind of topples 25 reports that say, hey, we're picking up isotopic elements of iron here that cannot be found in the Milky Way galaxy.
Okay.
What I'm saying by that means there's isotopic elements found in these implants that are not found in our Milky Way galaxy.
Okay, so
Full stop.
That is fascinating, and I think that's clearly where the hook to this stuff is. It's all of that, because if they can explain that it's some earthly metal.
Yeah.
So, but I wonder too, here's the thing, when I hear stories with people go, I've got something in me too, there are a lot of hypochondriacs out there.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who think they're sick who aren't.
Yeah.
And there are obviously a lot of people, I'm not discrediting each and every one of these cases. But I think we have to consider that. And then I think we also have to consider the possibility that we eat as a society so much crap
Yeah.
that some of this stuff, some of these chemicals that we eat or breathe in the air, some of that must, for lack of a better term, I know I'm probably using this word wrong, but some of that I feel like must calcify
Extraneous elements floating around.
and make deposits somewhere in the body.
Chicken nuggets.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And so some of this stuff might be like little...
Double down from KFC.
That I would buy, actually.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
I don't know.
do.
So some of this might just be like the body trying to put away
Let's put
some
it
of
into
this
context now.
crap that we
now let's put it into
digest.
context, right? So here's a doctor who says he's been removing alien implants that are testing out of this world. Here's a doctor who shot footage of a video we all just watched that we're all just kind of like, our minds are a little like, what the fuck was that? You know? So
Bryce, I am part of this podcast. I clearly believe this more
I
than
know.
I'm just trying to think skeptically.
Absolutely. I totally get you. And you're so right. I mean, because listen, he had his skeptics and you know, and...
Well, my whole thing is, if we're guessing what the hell was that, I would say that's my skeptic belief. It's probably crap that our body doesn't know how to store or use.
But that doesn't explain meteoric elements found, because...
That's true. No, I'm saying that the other side is, what is it? Maybe they're tracking devices.
That's what I was going to say.
Like we tag animals.
I want to pick up on what you've been saying so much through the podcast, is like you've been pointing out how we tag animals, how we monitor them, and listen, I'm starting to think that that's probably not a cool thing to do. Some of my biggest fears and I'm sure alien abductees' biggest fears are being tagged and monitored. Maybe there's a play there, something happening, but yeah, I mean, it's like, of course, if we do it, why wouldn't they? You know, I often tell my kid, look at that ant colony.
Yeah.
Do you think they're watching us? We're watching them right now.
And if they
look up.
Yeah.
Do you think someone's watching us?
Well, and also if the ants look up, they don't know if they can see the bottom of a foot.
Yeah.
But they don't see what the foot is a part of this human being. Their perspective can't even.
So who knows?
Put it into,
you know, and I don't want to like jump to like these tags are like they're scientific. Who knows? God, man.
Maybe it's just a leftover from an operation or something like that.
Yeah, there's that
Kinda
too.
like
Absolutely.
they've done surgery or.
But you know, a lot of these
tests.
cases, and I haven't read the book, so shame on me. But a lot of these cases,
Okay, shut it down, Riley. Stop recording. Just pack up these mics.
I've listened to his conferences and stuff, but you know, part of his big thing was there's no physical indications of an entry wound or like, you know, and actually one of the ones that were watermelon seeds, he said they all have the same kind of scoop scar, like a cantamelon scoop,
I've seen
scar.
that. Yeah.
And with it, then they found the watermelon seed one, which is biological in nature. And if you look into popular science and what we're doing with nanotechnology and fibrous materials, it'll blow your mind.
So Dave, bottom line, what do you think this is?
I'm going with the tracking theory. I think it's either they're tracking who they've abducted and had operations on, or they maybe it was a bad alien doctor and he accidentally left some of his equipment inside the person.
Right.
Kind of what happens
We get
sometimes.
sued for malpractice.
Yeah.
That's not, I've never heard that. That's not bad. Yeah, I would agree.
They can get all the way across time and space.
And maybe the reason there are no marks except for the scoop on some, maybe, I mean, when I picture people being abducted, I picture weird, like alien instruments coming in through the nose.
Well,
Yeah.
we've
Like a
already
nostril or
made so many
something.
strides in non-invasive surgical. I mean, people get whole surgeries done using fiber optics
Yeah.
through their nose and
It's
ears.
incredible.
So, and I have a friend whose dad actually pioneered a lot of this technology as a surgeon, and
Was
so
he a gray alien?
now that you mention it,
He had some big almond eyes.
yeah, almond-shaped eyes.
man.
But so there's, I mean, that's very, very possible. They don't have to necessarily make an incision to get,
No.
to get in there.
And listen,
Probably
Mike, I
wouldn't.
so appreciate you playing the skeptic because this stuff needs it. And listen, Dave, I think I would have to tend to agree with you. I think these are physical items left in people that might not be of a terrestrial origin, but I don't know what that means. I don't know how much of a part we play into what's happening around us. I'm not sure.
Well, I'll tell you what. In the 6th grade, Dave and I took a lid to a silver bowl that my mother had out on display.
On her dining room table.
And then we took it outside and threw it in the air and took photos of it, and then printed the photos and took them on the school bus
Oh,
and told everyone that a UFO flew over our house.
I
so
love it.
that will put up too.
This was before digital cameras.
So you
and
gotta
they look
watch-
really good.
You gotta watch.
These
out.
look as good as any of Billy Meyer's stuff.
Yeah,
That's
so you gotta always
amazing.
watch out for the hoaxes. Okay,
Oh
when we
my
come back,
gosh.
we're gonna have our collector's corner.
I can't wait. Hey guys, Bryce Johnson here. Each week we post exclusive photos with our guests and great visual aids on Instagram at Bigfoot Collectors Club and on Facebook and Twitter at Bigfoot_C Club. Check them out. You don't want to miss them. Thanks for listening.
What a couple little shits we were, just perpetuating alien hoaxes in our cozy suburb
know.
of Overland Park, Kansas.
Well, I wanted to jump in. You said throwing metallic stuff up in the air. Part of what blew me away in that New York Times article was a Senate Majority Leader at the time, Harry Reid, said, "We've got some amazing new stuff. Some new metal allergies that we've retrieved from," and this says it
Harry
in black
Reid.
and white ink, that we've retrieved from unidentified aerial phenomena,
Amazing.
metal alloys. May we please get double money? And they turned him down. But listen, let me tell you something. Robert Bigelow, the guys who kind of handling all this stuff, and all that goes to NIDS, the National Institute of Discovery Sciences.
Who you brought up? Isn't NIDS what you brought up in the Skywalker
Yes,
Ranch stuff?
Yes,
That's all.
yes, that's all in this story.
Yeah.
There's a guy
I saw
from the
that.
Department of Defense who wanted to go to his ranch. Now, what I was going to
Bigelow's the guy who bought Skywalker,
and
right?
I want to say that 22
Guys,
22
how crazy is that?
Skywalker Ranch?
Wait, Skinwalker. I got Star Wars on the brain.
Right, totally.
Hey,
But
is
I-
Robert Pattinson stopping by anytime soon?
I just want to, $22 million is paltry to a rogue billionaire who has his own lab.
Go
in
listen to our
space.
Skinwalker Ranch episode. I think it's episode 3 with
Yeah.
Mary Holland.
Yeah.
We talk about this guy, Bigelow. He shows up in this, he's all over this article.
Yeah, uncovering a lot of new fun stuff for myself here.
It's all connected.
Yeah.
Did you have a
collectors.
point to make?
No.
Okay, good.
never
I thought I
never
threw you off
usually-
the track that time. Dave, what do you collect?
I've been a collector since a very young age. First started with action figures.
This is why Dave not only and I got into paranormal stuff together, we also became nerds together.
Yep.
First started with He-Man, of course, Masters of the Universe.
Oh, man.
Had to have my mom buy me like every one of those figures, and soon that moved to G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero. Had a huge G.I. Joe collection. Had the aircraft carrier in my bedroom. It was bigger than my bed as a child.
The elusive aircraft
Yeah,
carrier.
I got it
The
later.
USS Flag.
I got
Yes,
it at a
that's
garage
right.
sale.
That's amazing.
But had a ton of GI Joes, and then comic books. Collected comic books. Have a huge comic book collection. But I also collect anything.
Oh, dude, don't forget your Garbage Pail Kids.
Garbage
Oh,
Pail
wow.
Kids.
This kid had them all.
did you keep them in like a binder, like the Turner? Did you
I
sticker
didn't.
them?
I didn't. I would
kept
always
them in
keep
your
them in a
top drawer.
stack.
Oh,
You
yeah.
kept them in your sock drawer in a
I
long
like
stack.
rubber banded them in a stack.
Oh,
I didn't
that's
really
great.
even keep them.
I got a
nice.
couple of those for my kids, actually, the Garbage Pail. They're back
Yeah, they came back out, yeah.
Awesome.
And
We collected the same stuff, man. I almost brought I took that. You would love my attic box of toys. I almost brought my old He-Man stuff, but I threw it down for my son. Every now and then I'll make an attic drop, and it's just like a Ziploc bag that falls from the attic, and he's like, "Holy shit, He-Man Skeletor She-Ra 1!" And I'm just like, "Yep," But, oh man.
And yeah, I collect paranormal stuff too. I have a little
What'd you bring for us today,
paranormal
David?
collection.
Yeah, today's the first
Did you
time
bring
one of our
something?
guests brought something.
I did. I have a lot of Bigfoot stuff. I brought a
You're in the
Bigfoot
right place.
figurine.
Holy cow! I saw.
This is from Willow Creek, or at least outside of Willow Creek.
Wow.
From one of those Bigfoot shops.
He looks like Chaka from Land of the Lost.
He really does. This is amazing. So there's like a 4-inch little statuette on a wooden pedestal. It says Bigfoot.
It's kind of like the one Bryce has, but it's
Why'd they space the spelling of Bigfoot? It's one word. This is
when they first came out with his name, it was separated, and then a newspaper guy said, it looks better if you smush them together and you make it a lowercase f.
Well, there's a
so it was a
jewel for
newspaper
ya.
guy.
That is beautiful.
So-
Wow, I love that part of the story.
The
That's
first
amazing.
original drawings of Bigfoot, he looked kind of just like Popeye or a goofy cartoon human, but with just giant feet. He wasn't a furry creature. So Sasquatch was an entirely separate character than Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And then people came along and kind of combined
Merged
the
them.
legends. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I have a lot of Bigfoot stuff. Have Loch Ness stuff. I have a huge collection of paranormal books and Bigfoot books. And
Well, it has been an honor to have you here today. I know Michael always talks about you. I feel like I'm sitting in your seat sometimes, but it's definitely an honor and a privilege. man.
Before we have to go, I have something for you guys as well that I brought.
Oh, really?
I did. Now, guys, in the spirit of the season, I brought Bryce and Riley some Christmas presents here.
Oh,
So
snap.
pass this around, Dave. This goes to Riley.
Oh, man.
This goes to Bryce.
Yes. Oh, wow.
And Dave, not to leave you out, I also brought you something.
Wow.
Dave, why don't you tell everybody at home what that is?
it is a poster of the Bermuda Triangle.
Ooh.
This is Bizarre Tourism Department. Explore time and space. Sail nature's wormhole.
This is
that is so cool.
And this is all by Tyson from Maiden Voyage Clothing Co., who did the patch on our logo.
Oh my gosh.
We went out to Claremont, California yesterday. He was part of an art sale there. And Dave, I also got this for you because I knew you were looking at it.
Oh, nice.
It's another patch.
Look at that.
Cryptozoology Tracking Society, the fur-bearing trout, and you can actually touch it.
It's a trout with with fuzzy white fur
Yeah.
on it.
Oh, that's
and that's
so
a
great.
peel away, Dave. It's a stick. It's more of a sticker. Don't iron it on because you'll melt the
nice.
fur.
Okay.
So
You put that on your UFO.
yeah.
Thank you.
And then Bryce and
Wait.
Riley, open up your
Pass
your
that to Mike.
guys.
Mike, I got you something.
Oh, well, that's very sweet.
Now, Dave, last minute I knew you were coming. I didn't have anything for
Wait,
you.
open up your
that's-
present.
Oh, I will. Okay. But
Do
I
it
got
right
you
now.
something. Yes, where is it?
I handed it to you.
All right, here I go. I'm opening.
This is also from Maiden Voyage.
Ah, look at that. That's awesome. Oh, dude. Got a Mothman shirt.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, that's great.
It's your
Mike,
glow-in-the-dark
that is
Mothman
beautiful.
It
T-shirt.
glows too.
Yeah.
Dope.
Wicked.
in the shape of the classic Batman.
Oh, yeah. Batman
and then
style.
there should be something else, a little something else in there. Look around in the bag. There's something else for you
that's
there.
great. Oh, I got a bumper sticker. I break with my Bigfoot for cryptids. Oh, yeah.
That's going on my car.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Well, speaking of Maiden Voyage, maybe pop that thing
Oh,
open.
right on. Oh, dude, if this is what I think it is, I may have almost gotten this for you yesterday. I recognize the size of the box.
Great minds think alike, you know? And Riley, you can open that one that I got you. And Dave, all I got you was a lame headshot. But I wanted to get you something and not empty-handed, so
Oh, wow.
I
Thanks,
signed
man.
it. Dave, I want you to believe.
Oh, nice. Thanks, dude.
Yeah, it's my go-to.
Oh, dude.
I'm holding an enormous, beautifally wrapped gift right now.
Yeah, oh, and I forgot about it. I have
blown away.
Yeti
Oh,
on my wrapping.
Yeah,
sticker.
so Riley's got a big
Oh,
gift. Michael's
dude,
got
I was looking at these.
Oh, good.
I decided to go with T-shirts for you guys. This is the Maiden Voyage
UFO abduction
abductee
pin.
Oh, that's
pin.
awesome.
I love this. Did you order this
I
online?
did, yeah.
Oh,
So
sweet,
this
dude,
is
thank you.
yes, my gift to you, man. Thank you for bringing
Oh,
this into my
dude.
life.
I love this. Merry Christmas.
Hey, Merry Christmas to you, man. This has been so fun.
everyone.
Describe what the little
Oh yeah,
pin
so
is.
the pin is it's this
we'll put a
pewter
picture
or
on
silver pin. It's three-dimensional of a UFO beaming a little man that you can slide up and
Yeah,
down
he
all the
slides
way
right up into the UFO.
into the flying saucer. It's super
Yeah.
50s. We'll take photos of all these
Yeah.
gifts. And now Riley's
Riley's-
digging into his.
Oh no, you don't have to
box.
open that. That is what it is. It's a Riley Bray Studios sandbag, and there's
Wait, look, flip it around.
6 more of those in my car.
Oh, well, look at that.
He got you a bunch of sandbags for your mic
The
stands.
mic stands fall over a
Yeah.
lot for the listeners.
It's a,
So
it's a
rad.
suggestive.
No, I think it's, and they work for floods too. I know you're here in the canyons.
It's like when your
and-
aunt gives you a toiletry gift. Just thinking maybe you want that.
Yeah.
Oh no!
I'm kidding, I love
Oh, that's
guys,
great, man. I'm glad.
this has been a wonderful holiday. Thank you so much for spending
Yes.
the year or the past few months that is 2017 for the Bigfoot Collectors Club. On Friday, we are going to have our first Listener Files episode, so you get a bonus episode at the end of this week. Before we go, Dave, where can people find you?
I am on Instagram at WDaveKeith, and I have a podcast called Taco the Town. If you are interested in taco places in Kansas City, I know Kansas City is famous for its barbecue, but I'm trying to make Kansas City famous for its taco.
Also, just
on,
if
yeah.
you like tacos, listen to it. And
we
I'm
talk
in the,
a lot
first,
of tacos. We go in depth on tacos.
and I'm in the first episode.
Yeah, Michael's the guest on the first episode, and
So check it out. It's very fun.
it's
I
on
listen to every
iTunes
week.
and everywhere else
Perfect.
you can find.
You don't have to be in
podcasts.
KC to appreciate it. It's a
Oh,
very fun
nice.
show.
I love a taco, so I'm your man.
Yeah. Bryce, anything to plug?
Yeah, totally. Follow us on social media because it plays a nice little fun part with the show. We post a lot of pictures and interesting things that we do along with our episodes. So you can find us on Instagram at Bigfoot Collectors Club, and we're on Twitter at Bigfoot_C Club, and we're also on Facebook at Bigfoot Collectors Club.
Yeah, and if you're listening, if you found the show because you're a Crazy Ex-Girlfriend fan, next month is going to be all for you guys as well as the paranormal community. So please share that with all of your friends and on social media. Thank you so much to Riley Bray. Always Merry Christmas,
Merry
Riley.
Christmas, Riley.
Merry Christmas, you guys.
And as always, our music is from the song Come Alone by Sun Eaters, courtesy of Lotus Pool Records. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you on Friday for a bonus episode.
See you there.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Yep.
Happy New Year.
Happy holidays.
Year.
Dave, do a Santa Bigfoot. Come on.
That was it.
Bigfoot Christmas.
Bye, everybody.
See you.